Bradley Beal has officially been bought out by the Phoenix Suns. And there are positives to this. I'm not going to sit here and spin it into something that it's just completely negative. I don't agree with the move of buying out Bradley Beal, and I'll get to that in just a second. But here are the positives. He's gone. He might be a cancer in the locker room, and I don't know that to be the case. He didn't work well with the media. He was an accommodating player, meaning he did change his game to fit the big three model. He did take less shots. He, as well as showed up to each and every game, ready to play. He went to the bench role. He might not have loved it, but he did do all those things. However, it was becoming so toxic with Bradley Beal that there is an argument to be made that you could not have him here anymore. And I totally get that. This is not me shunning the deal as a whole completely. There are some positives to be taken from that. As well as you don't have to worry about having him on the roster and trying to send him home or just not playing him at all. Who knows how that could have played out in the locker room as well. And we don't know everything. I like to think I know everything, but we don't know everything. I would assume that the Suns front office was just so done with Beal. So for all the mental reasons, I get why they got rid of Bradley Beal. It makes a lot of sense, not just on the surface, but it makes a lot of sense as a whole in basketball terms. However, not a lot is ideal right now with the Phoenix Suns. Sometimes you just got to roll with the punches. And I really, really like the analogy my guy Brendan Clean of Locked On Phoenix Suns used yesterday. So when I say this, this is not me, this is him. Brendan said yesterday on the show that it felt like the Phoenix Suns were paying back all their dues that they did wrong early in Matt Ishbia's tenure. All the times that we talked about Matt Ishbia going all in and liking that he was aggressive and it was a bit risky, but we continue to say to ourselves, if it pans out, it doesn't matter. And then it didn't pan out. And then what happens? You have to pay for the repercussions of those things. So I get all of that. I thought that that made a perfect amount of sense too, that the Suns are starting to pay back some of the wrong. They're starting to right some of their wrongs that they had early in Matt Ishbia's tenure. However, you cannot convince me that paying a player $100 million over 2 years, a big lump sum to deal with it now, and when it's time to build the next great Phoenix Suns team, you can do so without any limitations, without $20 million hanging over your head each and every year. I just can't wrap my mind around making a 2-year problem what is now a 5-year problem. We are going to be paying Bradley Beal. The Suns are going to be paying Bradley Beal $20 million a year just not to play for them until I am age 32. To put it in perspective, I'm 27 now. I might have multiple kids by the time Bradley Beal is done being paid. It's the Suns' own Bobby Bonilla, I believe it is. Bobby Bonilla contract. That's what it is. It's their own Bobby Bonilla contract. And I just, 2 years from now, when the Suns are trying to build a roster and they find a player on the open free agency market that you want, but that contract's going to be hindering over you. This would have made sense if there was a corresponding move ready to be made to replace Bradley Beal. Meaning, maybe you're going to aggregate the salaries of Royce ONeal and Grayson Allen, because now that you've stretched and waived Bradley Beal, you are able to have a lot more flexibility. The Suns are not in the second apron, the first apron anymore. They're not in either of them. So it would have made sense if they were combining the contracts of Royce ONeal and Grayson Allen. And I'm not saying to go get Larry Marketing or to go get Trae Young, or those contracts don't even work anyways. My point is, could you go out and get someone that helps fit the mold of this team a little bit more and stop the log jam at some positions that you have? Shooting guard. You got too many of those. Where's Grayson Allen going to play? If you could have went out and brought in some of those guys, right? Someone who is got a fit better here than Beal or whatever. Like, the names don't really matter. But there should have been a corresponding move in response to Bradley Beal. Happy to be spending my birthday morning watching Ben Garcia's show. I don't know your name. I just know your name is JJ Sandate. Happy birthday, man. That is awesome. And thanks for spending your day with me. That's awesome. But yeah, the Beal situation, I just can't buy that was the best move possible for the Phoenix Suns. I'm not saying it's something that's going to hinder them for years to come. That is not what I'm doing. I don't want to go all doom and gloom on you and tell you the Suns have no cap flexibility, which is not true. The Suns are hand-tied, hog-tied to Bradley Beal for forever. It just doesn't make a ton of sense to me to make a 2-year problem. Now it is going to be a 5-year problem. We are going to be talking about Bradley Beal's contract until the year 2032. We are going to be talking about the Bradley Beal contract until the year 2030. I forgot it's 2025 right now. So all of our lives are going to look drastically different in 5 years, and I don't want Bradley Beal to be a part of it. If there was a move corresponding to it, Grayson Allen and Royce ONeal, because now you can combine contracts, not being either aprons, and bringing in someone that fits a little bit better of the mold and what they're trying to do now, that's what I would have done. However, I won't put out of the question that the Suns are looking at next year's free agency, the 2026 free agency class, and looking at some of the prize players in there and saying to themselves, we should be able to get those guys next year. That's not to say the Suns can outright sign those guys, but again, they will have all the restrictions off them lifted. They can combine contracts. They can sign and trade. So when I look at next year's free agency class, Zach LaVine, Luka Doncic, James Harden, De'Aaron Fox, CJ McCollum, Kristaps Porzingis. When I see some of these players coming off the books next year, as of right now, LeBron James, Zach LaVine, Luka Doncic, Trae Young, James Harden, De'Aaron Fox, it sounds like to me, whether through free agency or through a sign and trade, the Suns are going to be big game hunting again. It just doesn't sound like they're doing it right now, which might be the long game. And that also leads to me that maybe the Suns have an agreement from Devin Booker, a handshake, hush-hush agreement that no matter what happens this year, he will be a part of the team next year. Because I thought this year was a transition year, but also showing Devin Booker that you're competent and that he shouldn't want to leave for somewhere else. But maybe that's not the case. Maybe the Suns don't have to make that transition year trade to help fit the roster a little bit more and help explain to Devin Booker that you are indeed competent. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe there's a handshake hush-hush agreement and Booker is eyeing one of those big name free agents next year or someone who could be unhappy through a trade next year, bring them to Phoenix and make them title contenders. There's more than one way to skin a cat. I think that's the phrase. And I think that's what the Suns are trying to do. So, although I don't love the Beal stuff, I don't like the idea of making a 2-year problem a 5-year problem. Because next year he's an expiring contract and it would be less punitive to stretch and waive him then. Or buy out and stretch him then. Or it would have been a little bit easier to trade him being an expiring deal. And maybe you got back players that could help you, or you could move him to another team. All of that would have made a little bit more sense than what the Suns did yesterday. It's not, again, there is a method to the madness. There is a world where this does make a load of sense for the Suns. Really, it does. I'm not trying to doom and gloom and poo-poo all over it. That's not the case. Just when you start to stack problems on top of each other, it just gets a little much. And Booker, 5 years from now, will be 32 years old, 33 years old, and they'll still be paying Bradley Beal. When you think of it like that, it is a little punitive. And I just don't like that. I like to have more options, and I think you didn't need to do anything this year. I think it was a little bit of a panic move. Just wanted to get him off the roster. It would have been smarter if there was a corresponding move combining contracts, bringing someone in, not a star level player, but a good high level role player that knows how to win and win in this system. But maybe the Suns are playing the long game, going after one of those big name free agents next year, or waiting for someone in a trade potentially to be really unhappy and try to force their way to Phoenix. Outside of that, the Suns just can't stand pat for a bunch of years. You're still trying to win at least a little bit. So I get the Bradley Beal stuff. I just don't know if it was the move. I don't want to say I don't know. I don't mind the Bradley Beal move. I don't think it's completely punitive. I don't think the Suns are dead for years now. That's not the case. I just don't think it would be my first option to help build the next great Suns team.